Hello, and welcome to another hopefully exciting edition of New Vampire Clans. Today we're going to look to Australia, and I apologise in advance if I mangle all the local legends, as I'm probably going to do. We're looking at the Rainbow Serpent, a clan, an interesting clan of vampires with a rather unique set of abilities. Their origin legend is, in the beginning, there was a man, two men, and a woman created, and they were given knowledge of which plants they should eat to keep alive, and then went on his way. And then there came a drought, and the plants grew scarce, and one day a man killed a kangaroo rat, and he and the woman ate some of its flesh. The other men would not eat it, though he was famished for food, and he lay as one dead, and they pressed the third man to eat of it, and he refused, and he walked off into the sunset, eventually dying underneath a tree that propelled him up into the heavens, into the Southern Cross. He became, well, the ancestor of all men and women, and thus death entered the world. But the Rainbow Serpents see themselves as descendants from the first couple that ate the kangaroo rat, that refused to embrace death and accept it. And it went on and endured as the years turned around them. That is at least one of the stories they give. They give many other stories for their origins. They have a lot of stories. A lot of different stories, and that's their main characteristic, in fact, but we'll get to that. They move a lot from place to place, unseen but seeing all. They master both obfuscate and auspex. They see and they move. And they live their lives, well, their third discipline is basically dreaming, storytelling. One of those two. They have the ability to shape things around themselves in certain ways, but ways that only make sense in terms of stories. You can change the personalities of others, just if it would make sense, or not make sense, or would make a useful moral lesson. They can make oaths binding with just the right words added to them. They can cause drama and emotions, but all within the context of stories. They don't really know the strength of their powers. They could be extraordinarily great, but they have to develop a feel as to whether it would fit within the narrative. And each one might have a different narrative. The more modern Rainbow Serpents can do powers that their predecessors could not. They have a very wide literary tradition, but the ancestors have powers in narrow domains of incredible potency, stories that have been told again and again. If you find yourself walking the first few steps of a very ancient story, a Rainbow Serpent can make you walk the rest of the steps with the greatest of ease. And what is their drawbacks? Well, their drawbacks is that they themselves are vulnerable to stories, to storylines. In practice, well, stories affect them, change them, move them to new places. In practice, it means that if they stay too long in a place, they may wake up somewhere else the next night, or they may wake up the same place with a different personality. They cannot, as long as they're not weaving and changing and moving, they make themselves vulnerable to be weaved and changed and moved. So they move through society, through human society, changing things to their whims. Their very identity depends on the fact that they can change the most around them, and the more dramatic the change, the less the less they themselves are effective and the more stable they become. That is the payment that they pay for their powers. And again, they are bound by a rainbow serpent may just walk into the, or appear in the middle of the strongest defended places because someone gave a promise 3,000 years ago that they could walk there. Or they may be unable to take a step somewhere or at a certain time because, again, long forgotten oaths or stories or promises are, yes. So that is the word of the Rainbow Serpent. Thanks for listening.